Hello and welcome to DTV, the Digital Transformation Channel, where we bring business and academic leaders and innovators and change makers together to shed some light on how they're managing the continuous need to evolve and transform their digital environments and organizations. My name is Leila Modarres. I run marketing at Apexon, formerly known as InfoStretch. And we're very excited today to bring you Bruce Gray, who is the Chief Information Officer at HIMSS. Bruce, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great. And HIMSS, Bruce, as I always recall it back in the days, was a huge event and conference that took place every year that gathered all influencers and companies involved in healthcare. But it's much more than that. And so I thought maybe we would start the conversation with you giving us a little bit of background on what HIMSS is and what they do, and maybe a little bit about your role and what you're going for in the next couple of years in terms of your technology initiatives and priorities.
Sure. Again, thank you for having me today, Leila. I joined HIMSS about a year ago to lead up the technology organization. And as HIMSS, as you know, is a very large, conference event organization, which is a large part of what we do. But we also influence in so many other ways across the globe in the healthcare ecosystem. We sell digital maturity models, very similar to other technology maturity models that, for the technology audience. But it, really gives people a baseline of how to mature their digital healthcare system. And we sell those around the world. And, it's great success with those. We have a very strong media business, the healthcare media business. Do a lot of small consulting and another little products around the edges. So it is more than just the event business, but that is largely what people know us for. And as I said, I joined about a year ago, and I run the technology organization. So it's the traditional corporate functions, as well as assisting in the delivery of our products into market. And I view my role as ensuring that we have the proper technology, talent, processes, and culture to support the mission of HIMSS.
Let's start, and the topic today is actually member engagement. So why don't we start with talking about what you had just noted, the patient experience and the expectations and their needs, which is, front and center when it comes to all aspects of healthcare. And, information transparency, the rising consumer expectations are rippling across the entire healthcare center. So how can digital health companies help healthcare organizations enhance that last mile care delivery and patient experience?
Yeah, it's when you look at our collective human behavior, we're all bringing our expectations from every industry that we've interacted with, where we've been wowed, and we're kind of demanding that come from our healthcare interactions. And, that's a huge challenge, given our legacy healthcare system. And I see all too often organizations are attempting to digitize their current processes versus digitizing their desired outcomes. And, if you just try to, make yesterday better, it's not going to work. You really got to reimagine everything and reinvent the business model based on your outcomes, expectations, and what the possibilities of what technology can deliver today. And it's not easy, but if you don't have the right mindset, it's even more difficult.
Right. And as times are changing, technologies, as we talked about, change with it. Curious, what are some of the priorities in tech that existed, 5, 6, 7 years ago in healthcare, and how has that drastically shifted today? We talked about remote. Is it AI? Is it voice-enabled systems? Is it biometrics? Or what are you seeing, that's going to be very, prevalent today than there was like 5, 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah, I think, I really thought about this one, and I think we've moved from we've seen the evolution and maturity along some similar themes. Because I can't remember what was important 5 years ago that didn't come to fruition because there's been so much change since then. But you look at machine learning, AI, data science, that's really moved from more the conceptual and state of the art to much more mainstream. Very simple efforts now are all embracing those technologies. When you look at our general risk profile and security and biometrics, wow, is that it's gone from somebody worked on that years ago to like that is such a focal point for virtually every industry.
Let's talk a little bit about the payment side of things and how health insurance and insurance and payment is also part of the patient experience, and digital is also reshaping that. There's definitely been an influx of small and nimble tech-centric healthcare payers that are popping up and are challenging and pushing the larger carriers towards member-focused digital solutions. So how can digital engineering or IT service vendors support payers and health plans in this type of transformation?
Yeah, I mean, that's such a good question. From what I've seen, the industry from the payer side is constantly looking for that silver bullet that's going to disrupt and transform, and it just doesn't exist. It hasn't happened, and you really have to look at your core business models and understand. I mean, from a carrier perspective, the models really haven't changed much in 20 years. Let's be honest. And I know that's a conversation for a different, a day, but that it's very, very slow to move and to migrate. So if you want transformation, you've got to reimagine what is your business and what value proposition are you adding to the mix. And there's huge opportunities around the edges, and you don't have to boil the ocean. You can look for the whole supply chain, if you will, and where can you disrupt, transform. There's value if we just do this first step or this 45th step. There's so much value we can do it, but it really starts, in my experience, with a mindset shift to challenge the status quo. And again, what are you trying to digitize? Like, what are you trying to disrupt? What outcome are you trying to achieve? And it's not just making what we do today better, with a slicker website or some new tech, but how do we just fundamentally disrupt it? I mean, I think we've all experienced those companies in other industries, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is fantastic. And even if it's a little bit self-service, but it's quick, it's easy, in 30 minutes or less, you kind of done everything that you need to do, and it's all there. And then every interaction is just digital from there on out, and those are fabulous experiences. From a payer perspective, I've had this premise for a while, and I use it to challenge people's thinking. Every customer interaction is a fundamental defect. Nobody wants to call their insurance carrier, right? Nobody. So if they are, why? There's something has really gone wrong, and we have to ask ourselves, what would we want as consumers? Because we're all consumers of this, of this healthcare system in the U.S. And what steps would we like to see taken? And I have a couple of an example where the data and the technology exists today to make it so much better. So if you're going to call in, on the 800 number and have a question, the data and technology is there for the insurer to know with a 90% certainty why you're calling. I've done the math.
Right.
Well, why don't they answer the phone and know that, and answer your question, be ready to answer that question versus asking 1,000 questions. Or let's go one step further. If you know that, why don't you prevent the question from being asked in the first place? So change the process, push out what information is missing. How do you push it out in a proactive manner? Change your business processes, change the information you're sending, and just take it all away from the question in the first place.
So that seems to also be something that I would think healthcare organizations would rely on the business side of the organization to address. And business and IT alignment is definitely relevant in every industry. But it's this alignment is also key to actualizing all patient engagement initiatives. So how can you ensure that there's that the IT organization and the business units are working together hand in hand and moving in the same direction? And also, I guess the second part of the question is, where are the decisions being made on how to evolve and what to evolve?
Yeah. I don't think healthcare is much different in a kind of generic sense than any other industry. It all comes down to, I mean, it's pretty easy, but it's so elusive because it's human behavior. Are you transparent? Are you open? Are you honest? Are you listening to each other, truly listening? Are you collaborating, jointly owning not only the goals, but the solutions to solve? And, fundamental teamwork, where I've seen these and been able to install these, you get magic, both in terms of the collaboration and the teamwork, but also the results come. And, all that leads to unbelievable trust. So it just kind of feeds on itself. And, I've had experiences where I've stepped away from that team and the organization keeps going,
Right.
and because they've built that and it's, self-sustaining. Healthcare is interesting because it's so fragmented, the whole supply chain ecosystem, that, you can optimize it for one slice, but does that help the consumer? Or, so if sometimes you have to break it and, go beyond, look for partnerships, go beyond your just individual ownership and look for how do we connect with the next player in the ecosystem to make it for the better for the end consumer. Much easier said than done. I mean, if you just look at the healthcare space in general, some people stay in their lanes very tightly.
Right.
Others are doing unbelievable acquisitions to get, both vertical and horizontal integrations. And, that's where you start to see some of the value. To your point earlier, you're not asked the same question again 15 times, right? They know everything about you from prior experiences. And, there's no panacea here, but there's certainly steps taken in the right direction. And when you see it, you actually feel it like, wow, they got their act together. And, I mean, the expectations are so low that if you just do a little bit better, it's amazing, right? You just feel like, wow, that was a really good experience.
Yeah, the benchmark is definitely not high at the moment. So.
No, it's a target-rich environment, as folks like to say.
Exactly. It takes a long time, and maybe chipping away little by little is much more realistic.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, good. Well, this was super helpful. Is there anything that I've missed, or any kind of other wisdom you'd like to impart on your counterparts, or companies that are experiencing some challenges when it comes to digital?
I guess one, and this probably might be more of a personal thing. We always talk about healthcare. You rarely hear the conversation about health. And if people would explore that a little bit, we need less healthcare.
Yeah, preventative.
Yeah, well, eating better and exercising a little goes a long way to preventing 90% of the healthcare problems that we have today.
Absolutely. Yes. And on that note, I will be heading to the gym. But this was great, Bruce. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to learning more about how this industry evolves. And thank you so much for taking part in the DTV.
Thank you for having me today. I enjoyed it.